Oh, lovely people. Welcome to this week's episode or edition of our Gymwright Facebook Live Q&A. I'm your host, Marcus Gurzy, and I am here with our special guest, the one and only Mr. Shayne Jasper. Shayne is one of our business coaches and a successful entrepreneur, been working in the fitness space in a variety of capacities, everything from CrossFit gym owner to some projects he's got working on today. I'll let him tell you all about that himself. But thanks for joining us today, Shayne.
Hey, thank you very much, Marcus. I'm pumped to be on this.
Yeah, man. Cool. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about how to increase your premium service sales at your box. So this is oftentimes people think, premium service just means personal training, but it could mean custom program design. It could mean nutrition coaching. Whatever you have as a value add service at your gym can fall into this category. So what we're going to talk about today, the system that we'll break down for you really applies to whatever you want to be selling. So Shayne, but before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Yeah, first of all, this is a subject that I was excited to talk about because I came from a Globo gym background. I've been in the fitness industry for 18 years now and started at a Globo gym in the personal training department. And so this was an area that I sort of specialized in, and we sort of carried as a strength at my gym when I opened a CrossFit gym. But grew up in the Globo gym space, eventually went and saw the value of group training and how we could help more people. It was a more reasonable price for them, for the general population. And, we could build great businesses out of it, having a positive impact on people. So I went there, had my gym for 5.5 years, sold it in 2016 because throughout the process of building a gym, I just fell in love with business development and realized that was kind of the direction that I wanted to take. And since then have launched 2 other businesses. One of them, we put on competitions for athletes in the CrossFit space. And I love it because it gives people a reason to train. So all the members of your boxes have a reason to train when they're, going out for these events for fun, when we focus on the fun side of it. B, it gives a great way for gym owners to build community through events like this, getting their whole, gym membership together to go participate in one of these events. And C, it just gives sheds a good light and builds more activity in the CrossFit space as a whole. So we make sure that this whole space stays a thing for a long time, because the whole truth behind it is just, making fitness fun, making real functional fitness, good human movement, like praising good human movement on a regular basis and make it fun for a long time. So I'm doing that. And then also in the process of selling my gym, I sort of rolled into another opportunity with my business, the Gym Exchange. It's a website that just helps people that want to sell or buy a gym. And that's given some gym owners that don't take the time that our watchers are taking right now to learn the business side of things. And sometimes they may end up a little frustrated, or sometimes they may end up in the position that I was in. They built a good business and they just want to, move on and try something new. So the Gym Exchange helps them find a buyer and give that gym a second chance at life as well. So
very cool, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. And then also obviously working with Gymwright. I love working with this group. It's a solid group of guys that know a lot about this business that I can learn from as well. And then B, we get an opportunity to help gym owners grow their businesses and be more successful.
Right on, man. Well, yeah, pleasure obviously working with you, but having you on today because I know this is something that you help a lot of our clients with regularly. And, at the end of the day, once you're up and running with your gym, the game really becomes less about just member acquisition. Like once you have that system dialed in, like how do we really control or stay in control of our growth from a volume standpoint? And the focus really shifts to average client value and maximizing each and every member that we have by basically figuring out what your formula of value is that you're best at, that you're going to be able to provide to your clients, that provides what they want out of it, and you can create an actual ascension model. And that's really what we're going to break down today, is a really simple ascension model for premium services. So
awesome.
Yeah, so to kind of dig in a little bit on this today, there's a couple things to consider before we really dig into like the method in how you increase sales with this stuff. And I want to start specifically by talking about what, even choosing what the program is that you offer. Most of the time I'll hear someone say like, yeah, I know I should be selling more personal training. That's where the money's at. And like, that is true. But it's not the only option. And it's actually not appropriate for quite a few of the people who are saying that, because, you really have to make sure that what you're offering is in line with your goals for yourself, for your team, making sure that, it works with the kind of availability your team has, the experience level your team has, their goals for income, for time usage and all that. So it's really important to choose something that lines up. And I'll just give you a quick example. Like for us at Active, when we first were kind of going on this pursuit of like, okay, we're going to dedicate the next year to maximizing average client value. The initial thought was, let's talk about personal training. But the reality was for us is that my team and the way that we had our schedule lined up and the way, from their availability and also their skill set, personal training was really only a fit for a couple of my coaches and not the majority. And so for me to really push personal training successfully, I actually would have blown out those coaches and would have taken really good coaches off the floor, which would have detracted from our group program. So it really wasn't the best option for us. And it became really clear to us really quickly that custom program design was actually far more in line with our values and our configuration as a business. Because what it allowed us to do is, instead of it kind of, forcing a lot of people who maybe aren't good salespeople, but great group coaches to, now basically fail at selling personal training or at, putting a square peg in a round hole. It allowed us to say, okay, well, we've got a couple people on deck who are fantastic at program design, and let's put those people in a position to where we can set them up for scalability. Because at the end of the day, I really wanted to just make a couple of people basically full-time and provide like a full-time income for them in a scalable way that doesn't chew up the whole day, because the quality of your group class coaching goes down the tubes if you're in between your classes, you're having to also do 5 personal training sessions that day, where one coach could have, let's say, 10, 20, 30, 40 custom programming clients that they can knock out like in one full day on a Friday from a coffee shop and sit there and do all of their communications, all of their program updates. It was far more scalable. So the moral of the story here is, make sure you choose what is in alignment with your configuration from a staffing standpoint and also what their goals are. Because again, the coaches that we said, hey, would you be interested in personal training? They're like, no, I'm not really comfortable with that. Because remember, in the CrossFit gym setting, most people came into this through the group setting. Most of the coaches that we have in our industry came up as members at gyms and became, where they were group athletes and became group coaches. Most of them didn't come from the personal training background, which is kind of like in your case, which is a little bit more traditional pre-CrossFit era. Almost everyone came from having to sell personal training. And if you couldn't cut it selling personal training, you just didn't have a job. So everyone by default was, I don't want to say a good salesman, but had to be able to sell, or at least have balls to go sell and get in front of someone and make the ask.
It's the truth. And when you're a hammer, everything is a nail. So typically the coaches that I hired were coaches that had a past or a history in personal training, and they had some experience there. However, your experience sort of reminded me of a kind of a funny story that was eye-opening for me. Most of my coaches came from a PT background, 3 of the 5 came from a PT background. And so they were comfortable with this. And while they weren't great salespeople, I was, and I had a sales manager who was. So we typically sold PT, and I used that as a way for me to create a full-time position for a couple of employees, where is when I had 6 or 7 classes a day, I may not be able to create a full-time position for them out of just those class times. Mm-hmm. But I had hired one coach who came from strictly a CrossFit background. She had a master's degree in exercise science, but left school and entered straight into a CrossFit space, started, became a CrossFit coach, grew up in that era. And I tried to pass her some personal training clients, and she was not interested at all. So it was actually kind of a funny experience at the time. But you bring up a good point, is knowing what your coach's strengths are and knowing what is going to serve your mission and your model the best, and not being cornholed into one method or another, but allowing yourself to explore the options and have a conversation with your coaches and find out, maybe they'll come up with some creative options and solutions. And I've seen quite a few with some of the clients that I work with here at Gymwright, and just, we experimented with a few things as well. So there isn't only one solution, but the main point behind all this is to discover a way to raise that average client value so that you don't have to always feel like I got to jam 100 more members in my front door to make the kind of money that I want to make, when you've already got 150, 200, or even 75 members. You can easily add 30, 40% to your bottom line by having a really good, solid, upsell program. Maybe PT, maybe it's mobility sessions, maybe it's nutritional counseling and coaching, maybe it's, personal programming. But figuring out what's going to work with your model and learning how to implement that is so key to growing your business, and not necessarily also growing your cost. More members equals more costs. It's just going to come with it. It happens naturally.
Yeah, the whole just add more members game. The longer you do it, you realize that if you are successful at it, once you figure out how to effectively market and sell and get the right people in the door, and you're growing and you're retaining, you start to realize that your cost of doing business goes up proportionately. I know plenty of people who run 300, 400, 500 member gyms who, when they came to us, were like, what the hell? Like, I thought that more members was the answer. And like, when you look at like total revenue, top line revenue, you're thinking like, man, they must be killing it. They've got, 450 members at their gym charging, $175 a piece. But at the end of the day, cost of doing business was proportionate, and their margins were the same. And now they're juggling, instead of 4 or 5 coaches, they're maybe juggling 10 with a bunch of part-time people. And now scheduling's a nightmare. And now they're in a totally different bracket when it comes to, workers' comp and employee status. And it just changes the whole game. And really, that's not what, in my experience, most people are really after. You have to find the sweet spot in volume of member count that you like, whether that's, if you want a big community and you're able to engage and maintain healthy relationships, because maybe you're a very social person, you've created a very social staff, you can do that. But for most, the sweet spot tends to be between 175 and 225 members or so. Yeah. And that's kind of the traditional like CrossFit gym sweet spot. Again, that doesn't, you could be lower than that and be more boutique. You could be way higher volume than that and still kill it. But the game is find your sweet spot in overall community size, and then work on raising that average client value. Because not only does that then allow you as the owner to actually make money and be able to maybe pay yourself or pay your staff better, reinvest in the business, to pay and provide ongoing education, but you're able to provide a more full-time position for your staff, which in turn creates better buy-in. One of the biggest complaints in our business model for people is that they're like, it's really hard for me to get buy-in from coaches. And as soon as you ask, it's like, well, you're trading for membership. You're paying someone, $15, $20 a class, but they're only doing a handful of classes a week. Why would they be showing up early and staying late? This isn't their number one priority. Yes, they may love it. Yes, they may be a good coach. Yes, your members may like them. But for you to actually really create that bulletproof culture community, that's top down. And that starts with you. And then it goes into your team, because your team, your coaching staff is your product. It's not the rowers. It's not the fancy logo on the wall or the paint on the walls or how big your square footage is. All of that is trumped by having a united, high quality team that is engaged and over delivering top to bottom. And this is a great way to enable that by providing them the equivalent of a full-time career, to where this can be all they have to do. They don't have to also go work at the coffee shop or also go pick up these other shifts elsewhere or have their day job, because for most coaches, they would love to be able to do this full-time. And this is a great way to do that.
Not to mention the fact that when people are involved in some type of additional program, it indicates that they're prioritizing that, or you've helped them, reframe their mindset, and now they're prioritizing that. But B, they're going to get better results. Like, flat out, your customers, your clients are your billboards. And when your clients are involved in some type of additional programming, whether it's a mobility program, whether it's a personal training program, whether it's a nutrition program, doesn't matter. When they're involved in that, they're going to get better results. They're getting higher touch points. they're getting more service, they're going to get better results, and those are going to be your highest referring clients. So in a sense, they are also going to help you grow your membership base, in addition to helping your bottom line per member.
Yeah, and two, and a point I meant to make in the very beginning of this, you have to remember, it's not just about making more per client, but it's about extending the length of their life cycle, right? So the model we're going to show you today allows you to accomplish both, because we've all seen it. People come into even a phenomenal group program around that, 18-month mark, 24-month mark tops. They start to look around for other things, right? They're like, well, what's next? Like, what other program can I do? What squat program can I Google? They start doing other shit. And it's a missed opportunity for you, where if you provided that internally, where you were like, hey, look, maybe as an example with like what we do with custom program design, where it's like, hey, most people start with our group program so they can get a lay of the land, they can get a solid foundation and have a basic understanding of the movements. And then usually around, the 6-month mark, a lot of people then upgrade to a custom program, because you've identified some things that you specifically want to work on, so that we can accelerate your progress. And at very least at the 12-month mark, we're resetting. Basically, my goal was to never let someone get past 12 months without them exploring custom program design, because for us, it allowed us to basically reset their interest while providing exponentially better results. Because obviously someone who's on a completely custom training program with nutrition, counseling, and all that included in that was going to get way better results, because it was completely tailored for them and their goals, whether that was aesthetic, or they wanted to enter their first comp, or I want to run my first 5K. People have, or hey, I just want to, I want to work on my Olympic lifting. I want to focus exclusively on that. Excuse me. So it was just a really great way to kind of reset their interest. And because it was now individualized, allowed us to extend the overall client lifetime overall, while simultaneously making it more valuable, which is really the trick, right? More value for longer, and you win the game.
Go ahead. Well, just real quick, I wanted to jump in. A lot of box owners don't have a sales background, don't have a sales history. So as soon as this got brought up, they get like literally physically, they'll have a physical reaction to feeling like they have to sell somebody something they don't need or want. But the fact of the matter is, if we have more contact with them, if we have more interaction with our members, we are going to help them get better results. That is hands down. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. We are going to be able to help them get better results. And if we open a gym with the intention of helping people improve their lives through health and fitness, we have a responsibility to offer to them as much as we possibly can. Let them make the decision on whether or not they want to participate, but we have a responsibility. That's our only responsibility. Our responsibility is not necessarily to be soft with them and just let them do whatever they want. That's what got them 50 to 75 pounds overweight in the first place, typically. So our responsibility, the moment they walk through our doors, is to help them in whatever way possible get the best results that we possibly can. And typically, you're going to get improved results through a higher touch program like PT or customized programming or customized nutrition. So we sort of have a responsibility to do this for people.
Yep, no doubt. And remember, if you don't, they're going to, just like not providing like good supplements or whatever, even if it's just some basics, they're going to go get it elsewhere, and they're probably going to make a bad decision and go and Google a shitty program. Or they're like, hey, you're looking at someone over in the corner and you're like, dude, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm doing this like Russian squat program. And you're like, dude, that is so not appropriate for what you should be doing. Like that is not, and here now you have problems, right? Versus you being able to provide.
Weren't you doing Wendler last week?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump in here. Let's get into it. So, let's start with one key piece here I want to get into as a point, because it's part of the overall formula, but it's one of the most overlooked pieces. Okay, so for one, we talked about choosing the right option, right? So you can go, for example, personal training, custom programming, nutrition coaching. There's pros and cons for both. Custom programming, super scalable. You may be a great way to start and making maybe like one person or like a head coach, a full-time person, really good way to do that. It's much more scalable. Cons being with that it's just not as fun as personal training. And remember, most of your members became clients because of the social atmosphere. That's what made it successful. So putting them on a custom program and just leaving them completely on their own is a total ball drop. And instead, what you want to do is you want to basically say, hey, look, I'm going to have a little bit more forethought. So for one, establishing rules of conduct when they're working on their own. We actually had an agreement that we had all of them sign saying, hey, don't do stupid stuff, clean up after yourself, don't get in the way of the classes, etc. But also we made sure that we would integrate a class session with them at very least every 2 weeks, if not every week, as part of their program, so that they were still in the social community, which, by the way, would also helps you sell that, because they're like, damn, you're making a lot of progress, or you look really good. What the hell have you been doing? And you're just working in the whatever is appropriate in the program for your GPP program into their custom program, so that they can keep the fun factor up, but they're also really now a walking billboard of what's going on the other days. So super important for personal training. Pros obviously being more revenue for the gym and coach per hour. And it's a great way also, again, to make a trainer go full time. Just make sure that you give a generous split to the trainer. I hear people give all sorts of crazy splits where the coach is either making the same as a class or less than a class because they just Googled, personal trainer split. Make it worth their while. Make them incentivized to do a great job and to also want to help sell more of these things. Cons are it ties up your team. It's harder for them to take time off when they've got a full personal training schedule, especially if people are prepaying as they should be. And obviously it requires a more competent coach. So if you have a bunch of newer people or newer coaches, you may want to be careful. But now that we've covered kind of pros and cons, the big piece that's usually not addressed before people look at this is having a structured sales event. It is a must-have to have a proper sales event in order to not only tee up the sale, but more importantly, to make a prescriptive sale. And this goes back to what you were saying, Shayne, about how it makes you literally can feel the person clench up as you're telling them hey, not only do you have to sell memberships properly, but now you have to sell personal training or custom programming. And they're thinking damn it, I've got to be a salesman again. But if you can make it about look, all the same principles apply to this sales event as they would to selling a membership. Look, it comes down to this structure. You're just going to relate and connect personally, which is already much easier when they're already a client. It's make it goal oriented. So talk about, what is it exactly that they want? Why is it important to them? And when do they want it by? Then get physical, provide immediate value. So if they're hey, I wanted to work on my snatch, you're cool, let's grab a bar. Spend 5, 10, 15 minutes working with them, cueing them, and really actually being able to assess where they're at so that you can make a prescriptive close at the end. Recap what you saw, how you think you can get them from where they are to exactly where they want to be, and then prescribe the solution. And it's real simple. Offer 2 options. Hey, here's a really good option, and then here's the best option. Right? And say, which one do you think is going to work best for you? And then figure out the solution. And having this sales event it's so important in this process, because you need to be able to lead. You need to always be able to point to something to go to make the decision. But again, it allows you to make it prescriptive. If you're relying on someone coming up to you after class and being hey, you know what? I'm interested in some personal training. Good luck. You're going to get a fraction of the opportunities than if you have a specific opportunity to where you can say, hey, you know what, you're interested. Let's set up a free performance consultation where we can take a look at how you're moving with that bar, figure out exactly what's going to work best for you, and see how we can help you, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, and there's different ways to do it. For some, you can do it on the way in. If they're not a member yet and they're on their way in, you can do it for some members that that need it. And then you can sort of dig and find those members that might possibly need it. And there's a system that you can implement and use to approach each of those different types of clients, right? Because there's going to be multiple opportunities along the life cycle of your client. If your client is a member with you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there are going to be multiple opportunities throughout that client's lifetime with you to make this an opportunity, and it's going to be the right fit for them.
Yep. So, all right. So let's dig in here on the actual process. Okay. So we're going to look at this from 2 perspectives. Okay. One, it's for the new members coming into your ecosystem. We want to be able to tee that up from the very beginning. And I refer to this as kind of planting the seed, watering the seed, and then finally being able to kind of harvest at the end. We'll break that down. And this is kind of the framework you want to put in place for all new people. And then we have hey, I've got an entire existing member base that I also want to roll this out to. So we want to make sure we have some mechanisms in there to activate them and get their eyeballs on it too. So that said, let's start with how we want to roll this out for new members coming in. Okay.
This is my favorite.
Yeah. So I'll kind of start zoomed out because I'll kind of go through the bullets and then we'll break them down. But the first step is to include it in your sales process. And this is, I know how you actually used to do this, is you actually made it a menu option when you would prescribe or you would go through like your membership options. You had included right there one that already included personal training, right?
Two, actually. Yeah, two of the three options included personal training. One was all personal training, one was a mix, and then one was classes only.
Right. And even if someone, I don't want to say rarely, but obviously you're going to sell more of the group program likely than you are going to be selling, hybrid or whatnot, or at least maybe at first until you get better at selling it. But you're at very least, you're planting the seed here. You're showing that this is something that we do. This is obviously going to help us get the best results. And you're able to have a little bit of a discussion around it. And even if they're like, hey, I think I'm gonna, you said cost was a factor for you. Why don't we do this? Why don't we start you on the group program? That way you can start getting some results. You can start making some progress, get to know the coaches and whatnot. And if at any point you want to upgrade, we offer that free performance consult to sit down with a coach, discuss what you want to work on, and see what kind of personal training program is going to work best for you. Because so you can still make the sale to the group membership, planting the seed for potential upsell down the future.
Yeah. So, and this was something that I learned very well in the Globo gym industry. The original gym, the very first gym I ever worked for, every new member, even though it was a $19 a month gym membership, every new member got 2 sessions with a personal trainer once they joined. And obviously for us, that was our opportunity to try and sell them some personal training. That was how we, made our living. And in fact, if they chose not to, we would give them a 3rd session just as a value add, right? To really like drive it home that, hey, we're here to help. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that probably 1 in 5, if we did a check-in with them 30 to 60 days later, we're ready to participate in some personal training. They hadn't come in very frequently. They hadn't seen the results that they want. And you can sort of install that same kind of culture into your gym as long as you plant the seed at the beginning in the right way. You're not pushy with it. You're letting them know what's available, and you're letting them know that all you care about is helping them get results. So if you're establishing, hey, Marcus, all I want for you is to get results. So any conversation that you and I have is always going to be related to helping you get results. That's all I care about. If you get results on this program, I'm excited because I've helped you do that. If you ever need help in the future, we're available here for you, and I'm always going to help you. Right. Yeah. And you're planting that seed in the get-go and establishing that my only responsibility to you is to help you get results, and that's all I care about.
Yep. Okay. So step 1 is integrated into your sales process, even if it's just a mention and not necessarily a menu option that you're prepared to offer. Just a mention saying, hey, and if you're interested at any point in time in working one-on-one with a coach or whatever the offer is, in getting some, accountability and support around your nutrition, whatever it is, just let us know, because that is something that a lot of our members take advantage of, and then whatever your benefit is. So we introduce it in the sales process. Then another piece that I like, which is what I would consider like the first watering of the seed, is to remind them at the end of onboarding. So for example, when someone would complete the on-ramp program at Active, we would remind them and say, first of all, we would give them the speech like, hey, great job. You're going to be in our group classes, yada, yada, yada. Here's what to expect. If you need anything or something's bugging you, come, let us know. And also remember, if there's ever anything you feel like you would like some additional help with or really want to focus on, so whether that's getting your first pull-up or mastering those double unders or just dialing in your nutrition, just let us know and we'll set up a free performance consult. Most of our members usually come to us 3 to 6 months in after they've gotten a lay of the land. But if you find something sooner, just let me know and we'll take care of you. That little speech just watered the seed that you planted around personal training to begin with. And I just normalized it to the person as well, saying that, most of our members usually come to us 3 to 6 months in. But if you want something sooner, just let me know. So you're reminding them that this is really common and that this is what everybody kind of seems to do. Yeah. And you've given some examples around things that they're like, oh, I would probably want my first pull-up, or they may be like, what the hell's a double under, until they go do their first double unders in group class and they're like, oh, I see, nutrition. You hit a couple of like hot buttons, plant the seed, remind them of a free performance consult, and then let it be. No pitch, no hard sell, just remind them.
Yeah.
So we've introduced the sales process. We remind at the end of our onboarding program. Now we get into the like consistent watering of the seed. And this is one of my favorite parts because this is such a like low impact, like non-salesy way to do it, because it is completely based on social proof, right? So the way that we would do this is every month we had a featured athlete. Okay, so we would have a featured athlete. Every month we would do a full write-up and really like break down their story, their success, and all that good stuff. Which, by the way, if you're not doing that, get with the program. Like, you are missing the bus. It is so good for your community and for people to feel like a celebrity for that month. And don't just do it. Don't just send them, a few quick questions and then have a Q&A format. Put some time into it. Like we actually hired a journalist who we paid, I think it was like $50 a month or $50 or $75 a month to do like a full-on write-up, like an article for a magazine they would get pictures, they would pull stuff from their Facebook, and it made the member look like $1 million. So do that. But point is that what we would do is that we would feature, the majority of our members were our group members, and we would feature every month a group member, but every third or fourth month, we would feature someone who was an individualized training client or whatever program you're looking to promote. And do exactly what we did with everyone, which is tell their story from being a regular member and how they had something that, they really needed help with or wanted to accomplish. So they did the free performance consult, and we came up with the game plan. And here we are, 3 months into their, 6-month program. We already crushed their goal for 6 months, and we had to reset some goals. Good job. And you're just showcasing like this person's success from within your community, because people are going to be like, oh, that's right, I did on-ramp with Shayne, and Shayne's like crushing his lifts. And now I know why, because he's been doing this custom program and he's way ahead of me, right? Or, man, she looks incredible. Like, what the hell has she been doing? Oh, she's been on a custom training program with nutrition counseling. Like, no wonder, Yeah. And there's no hard sell. You're just showcasing their story. And so this is now the watering you do. So every few months, you water the seed that you planted from the sales event, from the onboarding reminder. And then the direct offer, which we do with our platform users, we actually have this built into the system as one of the satisfaction surveys. But at the 1 year mark in membership, we would send them a survey that basically says, hey, congrats on completing your first year of training at Active. We wanted to check in and see how your training was going so far. And we would ask them a couple of questions like, what do you think of the programming? And then, is there anything in particular you feel like you need help with in order to get to the next level? And whatever their response was, it would be like, perfect. Well, in our experience, nothing's been more effective in helping our athletes achieve their goals than working one-on-one with a coach, whether that's personal training or a custom program. Click here to sign up for a free performance consultation to sit down with a coach and talk about your goals. And that trigger, after you've planted the seed, they've been watching other people get results. They've been seeing the stories, the success stories, and the member highlights. They're having those people taking classes with them now and again. That would activate those people who are interested. And I'm not kidding you. Like, this is obviously not like an overnight rollout. You got to have some patience in rolling this out without coming off overly salesy. But this is a phenomenal way to condition people into that space, to being like, okay, well, I've obviously group is working. I'm having fun. Like, I'm here. I'm loving this. The people who are interested in something are going to reach out. And now you get to engage with someone who you already know and like. They already trust you. You've already have rapport established with them. And you get to just sit down and be like, what exactly do you want to work on? Let's crush it. It's such a positive experience. It doesn't feel salesy at all.
Yeah. We had 3 rollout points. One was right at the very intro session. We would go through a very high value, very high touch, we got very close with our people on their first session. It was 60 to 90 minutes. We never cut it short. We always told them to block out 90 minutes to 2 hours even. We spent a lot of time with goal setting, digging in on the 3 W's, the what, the why, the when, and really getting to know them. We did a nutrition consultation right there with them, mobility assessment, movement assessment, really dumb it down. Most of these people have not been involved in CrossFit yet, so they're not familiar with all the buzzwords and the keywords. So we would bring it down to a level that was really clear and understandable for them. took them through a workout. It was all calisthenics. We would actually provide a customized nutrition plan and a workout program that they could take home and say, we've given you everything that you need to accomplish your goals because that's our only mission. That's why we exist. However, after our conversation with you, it's pretty clear you struggled a little bit with sticking with the program. You've had some accountability issues. You find that if you don't get results quickly, you tend to fall off the wagon, as you mentioned to me. And we're bringing the conversation back into this part. So knowing all that about you, I really think that if we have the opportunity to work with you on a regular basis, that's going to be the best opportunity for you to get results. Can I tell you what I'd recommend for you? And they say yes, right? So you're establishing, again, you want to help them. You're establishing yourself as an authority. Sit down with them. And, we built all of our PT options into a monthly recurring payment. We never, while it was available, we never sold paid in fulls. I think one time we sold a paid in full, and we helped it make it a little bit more affordable. So when we present that prescription, right, this is what I'm going to recommend to help you accomplish all the things you wanted to accomplish. We don't push it on them. We just show them what's available. I also like the PT only option because it establishes a value for the PT. So if we're doing a good job of what you're talking about later on, watering that seed, if they choose not to, they already understand the value and they have that a little bit ahead in their mind. They know what it costs. It also places a higher value on the monthly option. When we're saying we're charging $179 a month compared to the $600 a month option of PT only, they're like, oh, that's awesome. And we're really building the confidence in you're still working with a coach. It's in a small group setting. You're still getting all that personal feedback, blah, blah, blah. Then later on down the road, they know what it costs. They have an understanding, and we would sort of strategically keep an eye on people through their first 90 days to 6 months. And the coaches knew when a person started gaining, when they start getting interest, that moment in your client's life when they, it starts to trigger a little bit and they start to fall in love with the Oli lifts because you'll know because they get frustrated when they miss on a skill day. You're not working with heavyweight. They're starting to get frustrated when they can't get a certain technique down, or they're getting a little frustrated with the double unders. And our coaches were just trained to, we called those our low hanging fruit. And then we had a low hanging fruit strategy like you're talking about with, offering them that free performance consultation. We revisit the PT offer, and we would actually follow that up usually with a skill session. So instead of, I just offered them, 6 or 9 months ago on their way in, I offered them PT for $50 or $60 a session. Well, now we're coming back with, $35 or $40 a session, essentially for a 30-minute skill session. And it just, they've seen the other clients that are doing it, getting good results. Like you said, we've been watering that seed for a while. And we would see a very high turnover. At our best, we had almost 20% of our clients on some type of an upgraded program. I think our best month, we hit almost $10,000 in PT sales. I've got a client right now that nails it. He's been open since February or March. He's got 135 clients, and he just did $34,000 in total revenue off 135 clients because he started with this strategy.
Yep. And also a little strategy that you can use that I've seen work many, many times, and we've applied with many clients, is to teach your coaches to find those opportunities. Like you just gave the skill day example where you see someone who's, struggling with, the snatch that day, or they're, getting super frustrated in a workout with their double under or whatever it is, that coach walks up to them and says, hey, come see me after class. Let's work on that for a minute. And I would say, give that person 3 minutes of gold coaching, just, for 3 minutes, crush it. And then at the end of the 3 minutes, be like, hey, you know what? I've got to run. But hey, if you're interested in getting some more help with that, man, I think we could knock that out in whatever the actual solution would be. Hey, a few one-on-ones, we could probably get those double unders dialed. Or, you want to work on those Olis, we could probably spend a few months dialing that in, and you could be moving great or whatever it is. Just let me know. We'll set up a free performance consult. We can spend a little bit more time working on this. And it was the layup, right? So the coaches who were eager to sell it, they could shark it super soft, give them 3 minutes after class, or 3 minutes, come in 3 minutes early next time. I'll be here on Wednesday if you're going back-to-back classes or whatever. But this allows you to take advantage of those opportunities, because that's exactly what it is. It's them telling you or them showing you that, man, I really wish I was better at this. And
Yeah.
if you create the opportunity to sit down with someone one-on-one to be like, dude, so what is it exactly you want to accomplish? And why is it important to you? I feel like I should be able to do this by now. And it's like, okay, perfect. Well, here's what, let's grab the jump rope. Let's see what we got. You can really just be a damn good coach. Give them the answer to the problem. How would we actually solve this? Don't oversell it. Don't be a shithead and just be like, oh, we should probably do, a dozen personal training sessions to get your double unders. If you feel like, hey, I could probably knock this out in like 2 or 3 sessions, great. And figure out how to do that. Or if you're required to sell a larger package, if you're a coach and you only sell, 8 or 12 at a time or something like that, then say, okay, well, we could do that. And plus, I know you've been wanting to work on your snatch a bit. I think we'll be able to dial that in. And over the course of, a month or 2, we'll get that dialed in. So anyway, so that's a really easy way to kind of spur those conversations. So we covered the protocol for rolling this out for new clients, right? So plant the seed in the sales event. You remind them at the end of the onboarding, show social proof throughout that first year or 6-month period, however long you want it to go. And obviously, if this is a bigger focus for your gym, do it a little bit more frequently. Maybe it's a 50-50. Don't do a hard sell in those. By the way, also showcase those people in your newsletters, all your social channels. Goes without saying. We should probably do an episode just on that alone. And then you do the survey at the end to actually activate those who are interested. And then that survey is something you can resend out every 6 to 12 months. Hey, I want to check this training going. Again, if you're a platform user, this is all built into your system stock already. Anyway, so that's all great for new people, but how do we activate this for an existing member base? Okay, so for one, this isn't something that you're going to be able to necessarily, you shouldn't expect, shall I say, to roll this out and in a couple of weeks, all of a sudden you're selling, a crap ton of personal training or custom programming. You need to be a little more realistic about this, because this is really your long game strategy. So you need to practice appropriately. Yeah, and you need to practice. So for one, what I would do is I would say, okay, I would want to create social proof before I made the offer. So what we did is we said, okay, well, let's find a couple of people who we know are going to be really good students, right? So people they're longstanding members. I know they've got something that I can knock out of the park and that they're going to do their homework. And we approached, I think it was 2 people at the gym, and we said, hey, I know you've been wanting to enter your first comp or to really, dial in your physique. I know you're really, that's really important to you. We're in the process of rolling out a new custom programming option. And I think you'd be a really good fit. Would you be willing to follow the program? I'll comp your program for the next 3 months. I will go through a full 3-month cycle. And
I'm in.
Right? I'll comp your program, Shayne. We'll get you bikini ready in no time. And but the point is that I went to someone who I know respected us, respected what we did, would do the homework. And I told them, I said, and if you stop doing the work, program's over. But if we do a good job, like you, I want to get a glowing testimonial at the end. Is that fair? Totally fair. And that's how we started it, because we basically said, okay, then we're just going to have them start doing it. And by the way, also, we made the decision on who these people were, because there was more than just 2 people to pick from. We based it also on who was a social influencer. Right? Yeah. Not only would they be a good student and do the work and respect the program and not just, drop off 6 weeks in, but they were also someone that people looked up to socially in our community. So I knew that if I nailed it for an influencer, that they were going to be a loud voice in sharing this, right? They're going to give me their testimonial is going to be more powerful than maybe somebody else's. So we did exactly that. We then documented it in a featured member story and showcase it out to everyone. And people were like, oh, that's what you've been doing? I've been wondering what the hell's been going on, aside from the people who are walking up to her and him, between classes and being like, hey, why are you over here doing your own thing? Oh, I'm on a custom program. Oh, I didn't even know we did that. Yeah, it's something new that the guys are rolling out, right? So some people
make sure they don't tell everybody they got it for free.
Well, no, we told them because, and we position it in a way to where it's like it wasn't actually free. We said you're going to trade for you're going to do some work, you're going to help us with some social media, you're going to clean the gym, whatever. I don't recall what it was, but something to that effect, so that it wasn't really actually free, but we weren't going to charge them the full rate. What we wanted to was more like, hey, this is the value, but I'm going to let you get away with it for exchange of your testimonial / cleaning the gym once a month. right?
Same thing. One of our first and longest standing custom program clients, personal training clients, was a Yahoo Sports writer. And so he would occasionally provide us some content in exchange. I mean, he's a very well-known writer. He has worked for them for a very long time. So that was kind of a privilege for us to get to offer him a discount in exchange for some traded content. It worked out very well.
Yeah. So start by getting some influencers going on the program. And guys, just because they may not be paying full price, so whether you're giving them 50% off, or you're doing like a trade scenario like we talked about, so that there's some perceived value still, make sure like you knock it out of the park. Do not phone it in and just be like, well, there are freebies, so I'm just going to kind of half-ass it, and I was late on my thing. Treat them as if they're paying you full tilt and knock it out of the park, because remember, you want them legitimately. You don't want a phony testimonial. You want this thing to be legit. So knock it out of the park. Just work on, this is your opportunity to actually refine your process, from check-ins to however you're doing it, from scheduling to communication, and like really create a process. This is what this is for. And it allows you to kind of test run it, pilot the program, get your first round of social proof. And then what you can do that's really easy to kind of activate the whole group is pick something that a big majority of people are really interested in, that would be a good fit, right? So something maybe that you're really good at. So if, let's say, you're really good at coaching Olympic weightlifting, and that's kind of like obviously it's your gym, it's your vibe. This is something you guys probably do a lot already. I would host a workshop for weightlifting and say, like, hey guys, we're going to be hosting this kick-ass Oli workshop. For members, it's free. For non-members, it's, $100 or whatever it is, to like get a bunch of people into it that could be a really good candidate for whatever your upsell is. And now what you do is you basically knock it out of the park. Again, put on a killer event. Go back to my perceived value episode from last week on what's important with that, documentation, all that stuff. But put on a great event. And at the end, you can say, hey, and for those of you who want to take your Oli lifting to the next level, we do have some custom programming options specifically designed around helping you improve your Olympic weightlifting. If you're interested in learning more, I can write you a custom program. Just let me know and we'll set some time to sit down and talk about your goals. And voila, if you had maybe 30 people who showed up for your event, you could have 3, 4, 5, 10 people who are now interested for you to sit down and jumpstart your program. And that in itself could be already an extra $1,000, $2,000 in revenue a month right there. And all you had to do was do your little test run, get your system in place, figure out how you're going to do it, have a success story, and make sure, by the way, that success story is there if you can do it at the workshop. Like if you were working with Shayne, like if I had you on as my test pilot, I would then showcase you and be like, yeah, I've actually been working with Shayne. You guys have probably been wondering why the hell he got so good so fast at his Oli lifts. And we've been working one-on-one with him for the last few months. If you're interested in stepping it up too, just let me know. We'll set up a performance consult. And now you've jump-started a program. And then again, you roll in those additional success stories into your system and you start to share and you start to normalize it. Do this for a year. And I mean, I think we ended up getting it to where we ended up having like 40% or roughly membership base on custom programs or one-on-one training at one point. And it was insane what that did for average client value. So, and that's really the sweet spot. So all that said, we're going to be getting into Q&A here shortly. And there's always a little bit of a delay with people putting up questions, not because people are slow, but because of the nature of the Facebook Live delay. So if you're listening or watching and you have questions, go ahead and start putting them in now so we can get to it. But Shayne, any other tips on how to possibly roll this out to an existing member base?
Yeah, so I think getting polling your members and or at least in conversation, finding out what kind of help your members would like more of is a really good way to start determining what direction you want to take this program, right? In addition to knowing what your coach's strengths are and what kind of program they're going to want to participate in. But also don't cornhole yourself into one way or the other. Like, get creative. You can offer if 15-minute hands-on mobility sessions are what your members are asking for, I think that's a pretty solid upsell. If you got somebody, paying an extra $60 or $70 a month for a 15-minute hands-on mobility session with one of your coaches every week, right? And all of a sudden you just upsold their membership $60 a month. They're paying $1 a minute is basically how that works out. And you can do a lot to a person in 15 minutes of hands-on mobility. We crushed it with some 30-minute mobility sessions. People had could add that onto their package solid. I've had some clients that have had some success with, they basically will do like $100 upsell, and they call it a pick 2 or a pick 3, and they have a couple of different session options. You can pick a mobility session, you can pick a skill session, you can pick a massage session, and you get to, for an extra $79 a month, you get to pick 2 of these every month, and you just schedule them with your coach. So there's some really creative and fun ways you can figure out to add a little additional value to each of your members' average client value, and really, again, add value to the service that you offer to your members. Don't get cornholed into one way of doing things.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, first question here from Brendan Collins. What's up, Brendan? His question is, I know pricing will vary, but what factors do you consider something like custom programming or some occasional hands-on coaching? So for one, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, you got to make sure that whoever is delivering the service, make it worth their while to do a good job and price accordingly. So often people will just be like, well, I think people may pay an extra $75 a month for a custom program, or, an extra $100 a month. But you realize it's like, okay, but we're including a weekly check-in and, checking their MyFitnessPal and, updating their program when their knees bugging them or whatever. It's like, you have to make sure you're building in the value of the time for the person doing the work and make it worth their while to knock it out of the park, while then also still making it worthwhile for the business. Now, for us, and again, the priority in that comes down to, the decision on what splits are comes down to the priority for you at the time. So if your priority is, hey, I want to create a full-time job for this coach and make them a full-time coach, and that's why I'm doing this, maybe be a little more generous with the split, because it isn't so much about you making a killing off of every individual programming package you sell, as much as it is you being able to get this guy full time and turn this into a career and allow you to work on other aspects of the business, right? So you got to think about what's your goal in doing this. It's not just necessarily maybe to make money as much as it may be for a lot of clients. For us, it's to just get some people full time to create a better product and allow them to ascend up to a more ownership and management position than to just be reliant on someone who's just doing classes. So or just trying to make money off of it up front. So we would do the split where the coach made what did it end up being? I want to say I think an extra $75 or so per client to manage it. And we had a very specific checklist on what was required and what would meet the standard. We templated the whole deal out for them to make it really kind of dummy proof, because remember, it has to be manageable as well. So you got to be measurable, manageable. And then we only wanted to make, I think it was like $35 or whatever, a profit off of it. So after all was said and done, all cost, it was let's say $75, and then it was $35 profit on top of it. That was great, because once we sold 20 or 30 of those, that was a good amount of profit that we were doing. But more importantly, I had a bunch of full-time coaches delivering high value experiences to my members and extending client lifetime, increasing retention. It created just a bigger vision. So you're able to cast a bigger vision for members rather than just, hey, get into our group program and hopefully GPP will be exciting enough for you for the next 5 years. That wasn't realistic really either, for at least not for enough of a percentage for me to care.
Yeah. So in addition to Brendan's question, I'm a big proponent. You guys have heard win-win, or in this case, win-win-win, right? You want it to be a win for the client, you want it to be a win for the coach, and you want it to be a win for the business.
100%. That's the rule.
Any decisions that you're making, if it's not a win-win-win, it's a no-go, right? It's win-win-win or no-go. Yeah, nobody can be losing in this scenario. So to understand that win-win-win, we have to know what each person wants, right? And what each person is really looking for. So make sure you have that conversation with your coaches, and then to follow that up, incentivize the result that you're looking for. Always incentivize the result that you're looking for. An example, if a person buys a $500 personal training package, right? And you decide that you're just going to pay it out, right? I'm paying a 50-50 split, so I'm going to pay that coach $250 to take care of that client. Coach has already got their $250, whether they service that client or not. So you are not necessarily incentivizing the result you're looking for, right? So we set up our incentives. We had a specific split. you got paid for every, session that you serviced on that client. And then if you resold the client, right, if you had produced awesome service and you resold the client, you're now going to get a commission on top of it plus a higher split in the back end. So what we wanted to incentivize was long-term. Our clients were retained as personal training clients. They stayed personal training clients for a long time. We'd usually sign them up for 60 to 90 days in the get-go, and then give that coach the opportunity to provide the value they were looking for and turn them into their own client. And after that, they're getting an even higher percentage because they're the ones providing the value at that point.
Yeah, so no doubt.
Win-win, incentivize the result you want.
Yep, 100%. For us, a big thing was getting really good success stories. Because that not only helps you sell more of these to existing members, but it helps you sell more memberships on the front end. When you have a bunch of really good success stories, then you can show a solid before and after, right? So super valuable on both fronts. Okay, next question coming in from Jared Monday. Sorry if this is blocking your face. Yeah, he actually says, "What's up, coach? We're about to offer 30-minute skill sessions. Any preference on once a month versus 2 times a month offerings, or should we offer both? Would you have a cheaper price for a twice a month? We're looking at $40 skill session."
Yeah, so we basically determined our prices on the total number of sessions that they purchased, right? So it wasn't necessarily on how often per month. If someone wanted to sign up for 3 months at once a week, they were basically buying 12 sessions, right? If someone wanted to sign up for 6 months at once a week, they're buying 24 sessions. If someone wanted to sign up for 12 months at once a week, they're buying 48 sessions. So the price per session would drop, and then the monthly charges were just added to their account. So you may consider just how many sessions overall they're signing up for. If they're signing up for once a month or twice a month, is this a long-term package or a short-term package? Are they doing this for the next 3 months or for the next 12 months? So consider, you can consider all different pricing options, but going back to what Marcus said, making sure that the coach is incentivized, right? Like they are making enough money to make it worth their while, and the business is receiving some of the profit, and it's something that is a reasonable price for the client to afford. But I think $40 was right around where our skill session started. 0 to 12 was 40, 13 to 24 was 35, and then when you got up into 48 sessions, you're paying $30 a session.
And you know what I like about what you just said, Shayne, about it just being the total number that's included rather than it being necessarily like once a month, twice a month. You can explain it that way and maybe tell someone like that would be a really good way for you to take advantage of these. But the reality is that when you do it just on a per month thing, the second someone doesn't get that session in a month and or 2 months, all of a sudden they're like, I want to cancel because they're like, I'm not taking advantage of it. Rather than you saying like, hey, you bought this and it includes 12 sessions. In your case, I know you were super eager to like get ready for that vacation or that comp coming up. Like, let's do 1 a week for the next 12 weeks and get you ready for that. Or you can spread it out and just take advantage of it. And that way you can kind of track and start to follow up with people and check in and just be like, hey, you know what? If someone's having, let's say attendance issues or seems to maybe have a motivation or a movement issue, you can always say like, hey, you know what? I think it's been a while since we've done a session. Why don't we get something on the calendar and let's get some one-on-one time. If obviously you're talking about one-on-one sessions, let's get something in and help you out with those double unders or whatever it is to just bring them back in. But whenever it's just included like X per month, you run that risk of now it being something where they think they're going to take advantage of it, but most people don't actually want it that way. It's more effective if they're able to like condense it or use it for a specific application than to just make it an upsell, Jared. So don't just make it like, hey, I want to upsell to have a 30-minute skill session and use it once a month or whatever. And like, if it's too open-ended, if it's not being proactively like scheduled and it's specifically scheduled around a specific goal, then it's useless and people will drop it really quickly. You're way better off selling it, tying it to exactly. Remember, always keep it prescriptive. So you want to make it like, hey, you want to accomplish X, you would benefit from this package because that way we can get 12 sessions done. A lot of people like to spread it out maybe once a month or for 12 months to just kind of check with a coach. In your case, I say we just jam them all in the first 3 months. We'll do 3 sessions a month for 4 months or whatever, vice versa, and we'll be able to help prep you for that competition or that first 5K or whatever it may be.
Just make sure if you're doing it in that scenario that they're being billed in an appropriate time frame. Don't spread out 12 sessions payments over 12 months and then give it all to them in the first 3 months. It could end up backfiring. But
yeah, that was actually a follow-up question. Yeah, he said, good stuff.
Right into it. Yeah.
So good stuff. So do you recommend upfront payment or add into the agreement? Again,
based
100%.
Yeah.
Depends on what you're doing. When it comes to PT specifically, or anything like this, where it's like the premium upsell, I always bill in advance, or recommend billing in advance, because especially with personal training, remember, or custom programming, you're having to pay someone to do the work. And if you don't collect it, there's a good chance you're going to run into a cash flow crunch, because you maybe you spread it out over 12 months that they're paying for, and they're collecting it all up front. And you're like, geez, this guy I have to pay my coach for 6 sessions this month. But I'm not getting paid on those sessions until 6 months out.
Oh yeah.
Right. So instead, collect it up front.
Just to clarify, bill in advance is not the same as paid in full up front, right? Bill in advance means if you've scheduled them based on your prescription for 4 times a month, right? Once a week for the next 6 months, just make sure that at the first of the month, they're being billed for their membership and then their 4 personal training sessions. Not necessarily, and you certainly can collect a paid in full. If you sign somebody up for 24 sessions, you can certainly charge them all at once if they're willing to do that. We found we had a lot of success with offering people the monthly option. We just were able to make it more affordable for people. More people were able to get involved. But yes, they are billing just like they pay for their membership on the first of every month, and then they get to use the gym. Same thing with the PT. If somebody is, getting behind in their payments, make sure you have that conversation with them before you're executing the service, or you're going to be coming out of pocket to pay your coach for it.
Yep. Great question from Cody Ringle. He says, would you advise offering a free PT session to people on the fence about the value of one-on-one sessions? That's a really simple answer for me. No free PT session. If you're giving the product itself away, you are actually devaluing it. Instead, that's why I propose offering a free performance consultation, which is basically like a one-on-one, but you're calling it something else. You never give the service itself away for free, right? You want to make sure that you're actually building the value by creating a different version of it and saying, hey, if you're interested in one-on-one, or someone's on the fence, say, you know what, why don't we do a free performance consultation where I can work with you one-on-one, and we can really drill down on your movement, on your goals. We can figure out exactly how we can help you. That should be enough to get someone to understand the value. And again, the formula is really simple. It's a matter of connecting with someone, then you relate, connect personally, talk about their goals, the 3 W's. So what, why, when, get physical, recap, prescribe. Really simple. But anyway, so hope that helps you, Cody. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I'm right there with you. And what you call it, if you want to call it something different, you can call it something different. But I don't think, like, if somebody is able to receive the service for free, why would they pay for it? But to be in a position to actually understand what somebody needs, because sometimes they may be like, hey, I want some Oli skill sessions, and then you do this performance consultation and you're like, I'm never going to put a bar over your head until we fix your shoulder mobility. So we need to start there. Like, if you're being honest with them, there are people that probably shouldn't put a bar over their head, until or they shouldn't be snatching until they get some shoulder mobility. So it gives you that opportunity to upsell them what they really need, and then move them on to the Oli skill sessions. But B, you're not, like you said, Marcus, not devaluing the service. Yeah.
That's a huge problem in our space, is that people, in an effort to sell something, they want to give, or in a premium service like this, that they want to just give it away. And yes, you need the opportunity to sit down with someone one-on-one to actually frame up the value, tie it to their why, actually prescribe the correct solution for them. So it's not just, you're just selling a product, which now you can be commoditized. Instead, you make it about them, their why, their goal, and how you are going to solve that specifically. That requires a one-on-one engagement. In my experience, sure, there are shortcuts, but just like your intro session for your gym, if you're not doing a one-on-one, you are missing the boat. You are setting yourself up for retention challenges. Yes, you may still sell memberships. It doesn't mean that you may not convert. You may still be able to convert people because you have good programming and whatnot, and a great class experience and good coaches, but you're not connecting with them personally on their why and their specific needs and values around it, and tying it to them one-on-one. It's a missed opportunity, and the same thing applies here. So making it a dedicated, structured sales event rather than just a free PT session, I think is going to go a long way, Cody.
And on that note, I have not had a client who switched from a group intro to a one-on-one sales process for new clients coming into the gym that hasn't improved their closing percentage by at least 20%. So not to mention, because you started that relationship the right way, you're probably going to retain them for longer as a client. So there's a lot of wins in that one.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, next question coming from Sarah Carter. She asks, how would you go about offering nutrition consultation if you do not have any kind of certification? Do you need one? Okay, so you're getting into some tricky waters here. Sarah, it depends on what state you're in. I know that there's actually different laws on this, and what you can call it in certain states and not, and if you require a certification. So like giving someone like nutrition advice can oftentimes require you to be a certified dietitian, in which case unless if you don't have that, I don't encourage you to do it. But there are certifications, whether that's precision nutrition. There's actually a new program coming out from Working Against Gravity that is phenomenal for box owners who want to start selling nutrition counseling. They actually show you how to do it. They teach you how to sell it. They provide you software. It's stellar. We're probably going to end up doing a whole show on that alone because of how well they've built this. But either way, when it comes to the certification thing, definitely do your homework. If your state is prohibitive on you selling nutrition info, then it may be something that you have to kind of bundle in and not sell directly, and make it kind of like, if you're selling custom programming, you could say, hey, we cover training, lifestyle, nutrition, mobility as like the 4 things we're going to check on. And, that way you're able to just, give them feedback on their food logs, but you're not necessarily telling them exactly what to do. Or you can say, hey, here is the, zone paleo combo we believe in, and here's how to do it. And you're just now kind of helping them follow an outside system rather than you giving someone nutritional advice. So that can get a little tricky. Be very mindful of that, because if someone has, some problems that maybe you don't know about and you give them bad advice and they end up in the hospital or something like that, which I have actually heard happen, you can get sued and it can be ugly. So it's kind of a gray area in our space. Just do a little bit of research on that before you pull the trigger on that. But that said, nutrition counseling is probably, in my opinion, the biggest opportunity for a gym owner, because we all know a great training program goes a long way, but it is 3 times as more potent if someone is dialing in their nutrition, right? How many times have you seen members at a gym or had a member at your gym that's been there for 2 years and you're looking at them, you're like, you look exactly the same. It's because they still eat like shit. They still drink 4 Diet Dr. Peppers every day at work. And it's like, man, if I would have had that person eating better, they would have gotten way better results, looked better, felt better, performed better. It's all of the things. So I highly encourage you to look into it. This, I think, is going to be a new trend happening in our space, where the smarter gym owners are going to start adopting programs like that Working Against Gravity program that allows you to really knock it out of the park from a nutrition counseling standpoint. Yeah. And you're just able to deliver, infinitely more value to your members. Yeah.
Or some of those clients that stay the same weight forever because they joined a CrossFit gym and it's all paleo. So they're like, I can eat bacon, and they eat bacon all day, every day. So they don't end up losing weight. I mean, it is for me. It works for me, obviously. But for example, some people also, like the nutrition counseling that you can offer doesn't have to always be all in, like, here's what you eat, right? And in certain states, there are requirements. There are regulations that say that you can't tell people that. That doesn't mean that you can't help someone hold themselves accountable to making good, basic, healthier decisions. It doesn't mean you can't teach somebody how to use MyFitnessPal. Go through that process. That was a big part of our intro process, our sales process, was the nutrition portion. I happen to know in the state of Florida, you can't legally tell someone to eat this food and not eat this food. You can, however, prescribe macros for them, right? Teach them how to enter it into MyFitnessPal. So that's exactly what we did. That was a part of our standard service offering, and it enabled us to charge $35 or $40 more per month than any other gym in our area, because it's just a big value add. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be completely prescriptive. A lot of times it's just the accountability factor, adding a little more accountability for people in that higher touch process is going to help people get better results, period.
No doubt. And here, by the way, James Moran just shared a link here in the comments that awesome. Summarizes the nutrition counseling laws in each state. He does say, not sure how accurate it is, but it gives you a good starting point. This would be a really good place to start, guys. So that's nutritionadvocacy.org/laws-state. It's in the comments. So check it out. Just for clarification, if you visit it and it's in your history, you can no longer claim ignorance. Oh, good to know. In case of a legal battle. Well, they're going to they're going to search your history? No shit. No, I'm joking. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm going to be in so much trouble. Yeah, me too, man. Good. Cool. Well, if anybody has any more questions, put them in now. We're approaching kind of the tail end of our window here for this, because I know, Shayne, I think you've got some other stuff going on here too. So put them in here real quick if you got them, and if not, we'll start wrapping up. Time flew today. Holy smokes. No kidding, man. Awesome. Very good. Well, cool. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and end it for now. If you guys have additional questions, just put them in the comments. Shayne and I will be on top of this and answering questions for you moving forward. Just put a comment, tag us in it. We'll be happy to answer it for you. But that said, thank you, Shayne, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And thank you guys for watching. And if you made it this far, if you have other gym owner friends who you think would benefit from being a part of the network and checking any of this content out, please do invite them to it so that we can continue to build a strong community. So that said, I wonder. No, that's it. Cool. So that said, Shayne, thanks, man. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next week. All right.